has taken me quite a long time to get on here and try to post anything because a lot of life has happened. I know back in September I recorded some videos and I basically have only recorded like 3 videos since, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna start right after Christmas. I did the stocking video and then my dad died. So it was completely unexpected. He couldn't breathe one day, and then we called the ambulance and everything else, and then he got put on a ventilator. He tested negative for all the things, and it just was a complete shock for us. And you know, my parents bought a house back in November to basically move and, you know, spend time their you know, later retired years here in Texas and to be with our little kiddos. And it's just has really been devastating. And so today I'm just going to kind of share homeschooling with grief, where I'm at as like a mom, a wife, and a daughter. My mom is living with us right now, and so I'm going to share kind of where I'm at, because I think no one really talks about this kind of stuff and it's been really interesting. So I bought some books when it first basically happened, like 2 or 3 days after the book just fell, and I was like, okay, how do I talk to little kids about death? And they're going to see, you know, in my language in Malayalam, Appachan is grandpa, so they're going to see Appachan in like a casket. And how do I even school? How can I be a teacher when I am broken? You know, my childhood wasn't the easiest, and the last 7 years my dad basically quit, you know, being an alcoholic, and so it was a different relationship that I had with my dad compared to my other sisters. And so it just, you know, I got to see this different side of him. My kids got to see a different side of him, and you know, it was just kind of, looking in retrospect, it was very interesting and beautiful, kind of his last year of his life. You know, he went to India, he saw his brother after 30 years. He got to spend the last 2 months of his life living with me while their house is getting renovated, every day just laughing and being with the kids. He played games with my kids. Like, I have an Indian dad. My dad did not play one board game with me. We were like doing math problems and, you know, gardening or mowing the lawn or vacuuming properly or studying. Like, it wasn't like all fun and games with my dad. Like, of course he took me places and everything else on his Saturdays off, but it was just completely different, you know. And we, even on Christmas, he was just glowing with joy. And so it's been really hard. And even too, like, you know, the end of the year, I like to basically plan out my new year, make my planner, and I was just having such a hard time writing my goals down. You know, what do I want this next year to look like when I'm just, you know, completely broken? Like, how do I even write what I want to do? And I was almost mad at 2024. Like, how dare you start this year like this, you know? And I just keep having to remind myself, like, my dad's not suffering. And, you know, he is okay. He had a happy life, and he, you know, was here with us, and we really enjoyed our time together. And so I feel like moving forward is really helping me to honor my dad, teaching my kids, and trying to homeschool and keeping up with it is also a way for me to honor my dad. You know, like, he always, coming from an Indian background, you don't really hear a lot of Asian Indians who homeschool. And so my dad was just like, oh my goodness, are they ever gonna go to college? Like, what are you gonna do? You know, just not in a patronizing way, just like in a funny, like, oh my goodness. And when he moved here, he was like, wow, I'm really proud of you, honey. You know, homeschool is intense and you're doing a really good job. You're teaching the kids good things. And it was just nice to hear. And so something that has really helped me is I basically did like a pretend letter, writing to my friends and family of how I'm feeling right now and how I feel broken. And what can really help me is a hug, or calling me out of the blue, or just texting, hey, how's it going? And then what they can expect from me as a person. Like, you can expect me to be really, you know, in a sarcastic, kind of dark, sad, and sometimes happy mood. And that's just kind of how I process things. And, you know, and what I need at the moment. A lot of people are like, oh, let me know how I can help. I'm like, well, right now I need a hug and maybe someone to drive my kids to gymnastics or whatever, right? And so that has been really helping me. And I'm forcing myself to go out and attend church. It takes a lot of energy for me to just want to be around people, because of course it's like life is still happening, even though I feel like I'm paused and stuck in this kind of bubble, and that's been really good to just be around people. And so my dad passed away January 5th, and I couldn't even function for like 3 weeks. I was just sobbing, doing everything. Like, how can I teach math facts when I'm sobbing? And so we just kind of eased back into homeschool. And so the first week we did it, I believe it was the second to last week of January, I just did read alouds with the kids while they did like a handicraft, or, you know, building Legos, or they did some artwork. We did some painting. And then the second week we added on so we continued with the read alouds, and then we added on like gymnastics and ballet and then musical theater stuff that they were already doing. And then the following week we added their full-on, you know, checklist of what they need to be doing. And I felt that was good for me, because it's a nice distraction to not have to think about, oh my word, I can't believe this happened, you know, all the stages of grief. Right now, of course, tomorrow could be different, is in that denial, like, how did this happen? He just cannot be dead. I still feel like he's in the guest room hanging out with my mom, you know, just doing whatever. Or, you know, they're at their new house and packing, or I'm in that, what's it called? When you're bargaining, like, oh, if I would have done this different, if we would have called 911 sooner, or if, you know, even a day before, or maybe if they just kept the ventilator on just one more day, you know, just in that bargaining stage. And so it's been, that's just where I'm at. And then I started journaling. And one thing that really has sort of annoyed me with my journal, and I'm just being completely honest, right? Like, that's what I want to be raw, honest, and like, this is where we're at, is, you know, I do more of like look at, here are my goals for 2024. I have absolutely, my brain can't even do this right now, and we're well into the year. And I have a mood tracker on here, and it's just like, you know, I have like high day, low day, and then like in between it's so day. And I told my husband, babe, I don't have like a grief sign in my little key for my mood tracker. And so it was just like, you know, I basically just like did sad and happy days, because that's just how it's been. And I started seeing like a therapist once a week, because I feel like my plate's really full, and I want to make sure that I'm equipped to process my grief properly. And I know that when something like this happens, it brings up a lot of things from your past that you didn't necessarily feel was an issue. And now I can kind of deal with those things. And so that's been really, really helpful. And I'm using this like app. I just cannot drive to go do anything. I just want to like let's just zoom it out and work through it. And anyway, so it's been really good. In the morning, we're very, I don't want to make things complicated. We're all grieving, right? And so in the morning, we do our morning time, and our morning time used to be filled with a bunch of things, and now we're just doing our poem, because I feel like it's beautiful. It's poetry. I want to do happy things, happy subjects right now. And we're doing our feelings cards and our feelings work. We journal in the morning sometimes. And then we're also doing our read aloud and then our devotion. And that is all that I'm doing for morning time. And then I go straight into the loop subject. And even for loop subjects, I do not want to do like depressing loop subjects where it's like about war, or like the Revolutionary War, or something just sad. I want to do happy works, right? And so we're doing nature studies. We are learning character through literature. So we're doing that through Beautiful Feet books. and then we're doing early American history. And so we're in the Viking stage right now, and we haven't picked it up in a while. And so right now we're doing the Indigenous People series. And then I'm reading a book about grief every day to help process it, because right now I feel like the 4-year-old is kind of questioning, like, what happened? Like, he came from the new house and then he couldn't breathe, and then the ambulance came and then they took him and then he died and now he's under the ground. And so he just keeps kind of repeating these things, which I know is normal for a 4-year-old to kind of process and retelling the story. And so I think just some of these books that I got, When I'm with Jesus is a really, really good one. I Have an Angel. Samuel, our almost 7-year-old, is like, Upperton's here. He's right here. He's just hanging out. He's, looking over us. He's an angel. He's in heaven. He's with Jesus. And anyway, so that's just been kind of comforting. And I Can't Believe They're Gone is another new one, or a good one. I mean, it is new. My sister bought a couple of these, and then I got the other half. And it's honestly helped me, because with grief and someone passing, we've never had someone so close pass away. It's always just been like, oh, someone in India, or like a distant cousin or a distant aunt, and this is someone who's like been with us every day, right? And so this book is actually one of my favorites, I Miss You, and it's very matter of fact. And this is kind of like, okay, yeah, their body stopped working and they died and they're not suffering anymore. And so I just kind of basically keep repeating that. The memory box is another good one. The big girls really like this. They really want to do this and make a memory box for my dad, and just to kind of think about him. And then the Invisible String, you guys, is absolutely amazing. And I know this video does not apply to everyone, but it's an update. It's where we're at. Anyway, so this is another one. I know I have the one for like an animal, because our little Raja passed away right before we moved to Texas, and that one's really good too. The Invisible Strings is a great one. And then of course Todd Parr. I love Todd Parr. The Goodbye book is another good one. So these are the books that we're basically reading and the subjects we're doing. And I don't know, I feel like I finally was able to kind of start my year in February, and I saw a couple of the memes out there. Like, okay, January was awful. Let's have a restart. Let's have a redo, and that's okay. Like, it's okay for me to be where I'm at right now, and everything else. It was, it's okay. This was unexpected, and I feel like that's my motto. That's my mantra. It's gonna be okay. It's okay. It's okay. We can keep going. And we took a lot of time off because we were on Christmas break and we were doing Christmas school. And so even with kind of getting the kids back in their routine, I've had to just be like, God, give me a lot of grace, and teaching good habits again with, okay, this is what school looks like. This is what it means to have a work done. And we had to reintroduce some things and kind of go back and review some things. And when my dad first was in the hospital, actually before he even got in the hospital, my sister was supposed to come down, and we were talking about the Covenant of Water. And it's a book from Abraham Varghese. It's one of the best books I've ever read in my whole entire life. And it's written by a Malayali author from Kerala, India. And, she was talking about how wonderful this book was, how she can't wait to come over and visit mom and dad, ask them all these questions about their upbringing and our family history, because they used to be, St. Thomas Christians, Marthamites. My dad was in India, and he was, just converted to Pentecostalism a couple months ago in October. And anyway, so they had we were talking about, oh yeah, I can't wait to hear about the stories. My grandpa had a business, a coconut and black pepper business back in India, and just to hear all the stories. And then I was like, okay, great, I'm gonna start reading this book too, The Covenant of Water. And then this happened, and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe my dad's in the hospital. And this is before we even knew that there was no hope, right? And so when the first day he was in there, I downloaded the book and started listening to it. And it was really hard for me to listen to this book, because they use, they have all these Malayalam, like Amachi, and they just have all these different things and different endearments that my mom and dad would use, or just even talking about Kerala, how he's just so descriptive of just talking about the 3 generations. It was just a wonderful book. And when my dad died, I couldn't get back to the book. It took me about 2 weeks to get back to reading it, and let me tell you, this book, it is not a book about grief. It is not a book about any of that, but it really helped me to process what could have been my dad's story, right? And it was just really beautiful to listen to. And if you guys ever have the opportunity to read that book, it is amazing. And that has really been helping me. And of course, I have to like listen to my worship music like every single morning and not downward spiral into just, you know, this is what happened, then that happened, and then he died, and then we had a funeral, and then we had, you know, a prathana, a prayer meeting at my house. And it was just, you know, having to not go down that downward spiral. I had to really stop myself and understand my triggers. Like, okay, if I look at this picture, then I'm going to look at that picture. And then I'm going to be like, why the heck did this happen? And then I can't believe this happened. And so I had to really recognize, oh my word, this is where I'm at. I don't want to do this. I need to have a good day. And sometimes it is okay to have a sad day. It totally is. And so I try to process these things and have my grief moments, you know, like when the kids are not around. And even if they are around, it's okay for them to see mommy cry because something terrible happened. But anyway, I just wanted to send an update and just, I don't know, help someone else who's going through grief. You're not alone. And if you know someone going through grief, just show up, and you don't even have to say anything. Just be with them and hug on them, hug on their kiddos if they have kids, and I don't know, bring them some food because that was really helpful. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to 2024, you know, where our kids, this is going to be our 4th year homeschooling, and I know good things are in store, and I want to be able to pass down my tradition, our family tradition, our, you know, our history and everything to my kiddos. And so I am so excited to share kind of what we're doing with homeschool, our new curriculum that we're going to be purchasing for Abigail's 6th grade, which is crazy. She's going to be in middle school this year. And I want to read more books. I want to share more about what I'm reading. Last year I read 151 books, and I wanted to do this video of like all the books that I read, and the best books, the worst books, and the funny ones. And I try not to do my regular historical fiction or self-help books. I try to read books about things I wouldn't ever pick up, like a history book about dinosaur fossils. Like that was one of the books I read last year. And so I'm basically doing the same thing where I want to read books I don't typically like, but I have an interest in. I don't know. So I want to share more about that, and of course homeschooling. And if, you know, send me some love in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe, do all the things, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.